What is happening, YouTube? So, the Clippers had another dominate win against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, as you guys know, I've always made a bunch of side notes, mainly about Gigi Jackson. Um, that that the Grizzlies are my other favorite NBA team. It's pretty much because of uh, Gregory Jackson, or his nickname is Gigi Jackson. He did not play tonight. He is a two-way player. So, the game wasn't like as emotional, but if he played, that would have been a very wholesome game because two of my favorite teams, like my favorite team, the Clippers, versus my favorite player, Gigi Jackson, that would have been a fun duel to see. But, Gigi Jackson is still a two-way player. Although he is more than ready to play in the NBA, the Grizzlies are unfortunately just not playing him minutes. I'm pretty confident towards like the end of the season, and definitely next year. Gigi Jackson's definitely going to get rotational minutes, and he's definitely going to be a monster. But the Grizzlies, they have John Morant. John Morant is back, as you guys know, from his suspension, and then you got Desmond Bane, who's a bucket, and you got Jaren Jackson Jr., who's a defensive monster, and he has like an all-around offensive bag. And then um, you got Bismack Biyombo, and pretty solid team in general. The Grizzlies are also on the run. The Clippers just decided to dominate, and it was like a complete team effort. Like, it was no one guy who just made his team win. Paul George kind of started off, but then he definitely, went crazy. 8 for 21, 2 for 8, 23 points. He took over, man. He definitely took over. 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steals. Um, he played, he played like himself, man. This guy, he was crazy. He even made that one crazy shot towards like the end of the third quarter. I like to see Paul George going back to his, like his superstar form. I mean, this year he's been doing that. Even last year, he's been doing that. Like, I think Paul George definitely shut up the narrative that he's a playoff choker back in 2021. Pretty beautiful to see. Ivica Zubac. Wow. This guy had a monster performance. 15 points, a whopping, I repeat, 20 rebounds. That's insane. Like, Zubac, he had some growing pains with us, man. Like, kind of frustrated us at times, because, due to him being clumsy. But when he's on, oh man, 20 rebounds, man. Um, Previously, I remember saying that the Grizzlies, their weakness is they're not as big of a team, so like they may not rebound as well. Well, here we go. Zubac said to prove my point. Zubac proved my point. 20 rebounds. That's insane. James Harden. He kind of had a semi inefficient night. Early on, he went off, but towards the end, wasn't falling in, but he had all around efficient night as well too. 14, like not in terms of field goal wise, but going to the free throw, 13 assists, 4 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Very solid. Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann, he's still struggling in terms of, like field goal wise, but he actually did okay with scoring. He got 11 points, and he got 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. 0 for 6, 3 for 10. That's crazy. Like, he's been struggling lately, but his hustle is starting to return, so that's good. It's just we just asked for him to be more efficient. Like, I'd say something like 5 for 10 would be good. He shot 30% from the field, which could be better, but at least he took advantage and chose to be more aggressive and go to the free throw line to get some more points on the board instead of trying to just miss a lot of wide open threes and all that. Terrence Mann, he's been off but I believe he'll bounce back. Amir Coffee, ooh, like Amir Coffee, man, this dude has been hooping for us, man. 13 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. I really feel like he's kind of like a mini Nicholas Batum for us. And even though my guy Brandon Boston Jr. is not playing minutes, Amir Coffee is doing good enough for me not to complain about Brandon Boston's DMP. He's he's been solid, man. He's been extremely solid. Definitely a really solid glue guy. Daniel Tice, he did solid as a backup big, 2 for 3, 2 rebounds, 2 blocks. He did his job. Russell Westbrook, amazing as usual, man. 6 boards, 6 assists, 14 points, pushed the pace as usual. He brought the energy. Only 20 minutes too. Harden played for the whole game. Um, we won, so that's alright. Even Kobe Brown. Kobe Brown, he's doing solid. 7 points, 4 rebounds. He did his job. Pretty solid glue guy. Even though he was a guy who was taken instead of G.G. Jackson, I am extremely pleased that Kobe Brown is not another Jerome Robinson. I'm glad it's actually the opposite. I'm glad that he's a very like a good glue guy, kind of like like a Draymond Green, but is way more settled down without all the antics and all that. He does his job. He definitely gets rebounds, moves the ball around. I know it like the assist doesn't show up, but if you watch the game, that guy moves the ball around pretty good. So you definitely get a lot of good ball movement. So him and Russ is a good compliment. I'm glad that Kobe Bryant's a pretty solid player. Now let's go with the Memphis Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. pretty good night, 22 points. Rebounding though, it's definitely pretty low. Zubac just had a dominant game. The guy's just a beast. Jaren though, his defense was pretty good. 2 blocks, 2 steals. He did his thing. Bismack Biyombo. He kind of wasn't too much of a factor this time because Zubac, he was a beast. Only played 8 minutes, 2 rebounds and 2 points. Marcus Smart, he had a really good game. He was very solid. Most of his shots was from threes, 4 for 11, semi efficient. When he gets the ball from 3-point line, that thing was money. And his defense, was tough. 3 steals, 2 assists. And then the homie John Morant. John Morant moved the ball pretty well. 10 dimes, 19 points, 0 for 7 from 3, thankfully, for the Clippers. Because, man, when the Clippers play, stars usually go off. But, the Clippers defense has been stepping up. Even Curry didn't go too crazy against us. But nevertheless, welcome back to the NBA, John Morant. John Morant, ever since he returned, the Grizzlies have been stepping up. Because before when John Morant returned, the Grizzlies, they have been pretty awful, which is understandable because John Morant, he's kind of like the engine of the team. And I think Ja reminded people how valuable of a player he is. He definitely got the offense going and all that. Kind of like how a Derrick Rose was pretty much. Like the MVP Derrick Rose. Santi Aldama, pretty solid backup big. He can shoot the ball. 5 rebounds, 12 points. Not high rebounds for a big, but he did play 22 minutes. So you could kind of give that a factor. Xavier Tillman only 2 points, 4 rebounds. Pretty inefficient game for him. He did get a block and get a steal. Usually he's a pretty solid player. Zaire Williams, he hasn't been doing too well lately. 0 for 3. 2 rebounds and assists. David Roddy. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 points. He did all right. Um, he has moments that he's a pretty solid player for the Memphis Grizzlies team. This game he was like less impactful in my opinion, but nevertheless, usually he's a pretty solid, uh, like a power forward type player. One player that I feel is actually really underrated though is Vince Williams. Um, you know, like mainly the player who I really mess with on the Grizzlies is Gigi Jackson, but I mess with some other players too. Of course, I'm cool with John Morant. I mess with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Bane is growing on me as well. But Vince Williams, he definitely got my attention. I kind of feel like he's like the Memphis Grizzlies version of like a Terrence Mann or an Herb Jones because he's kind of like one of those glue guys. I know he didn't do too well tonight. He only shot 1 for 6. But he did get 5 assists. He did move the ball well, and I thought his defense was like above average. Actually pretty good. Um, he's definitely a guy who could play pretty good defense. His game definitely reminds me a lot of like a smaller Herb Jones, from the guy from the Pelicans. I feel I feel like he definitely is kind of like remember how Terrence Mann was back in 2020 and 2021. Solid glue guy. He would always play and do his job, but no one knew who he is. That's how I feel about Vince Williams. And if you check his stats, he's quietly having a pretty darn good stretch. It's like he would have 11 rebounds and 2 assists. Like his shooting, and his scoring obviously isn't like perfect, but he could hit a 3 every now and then. So this man, pretty underrated player. So the Grizzlies, they have a lot of players that I mess with. Kenny Lofton sucks that he got waived, but I'm starting to pick at Vince Williams' game. 11 rebounds and another 11 rebounds. Pretty impressive if you ask me. This time his rebounding was lower, but he does, get 5 assists. So he is a pretty solid RNA type player. Um, of course, if he hit some of his shots, he'd be even more scarier. But when I've seen him, he's more than capable to hit like some shots. Like he'll hit he'll hit a 3 every now and then. But that's kind of like my shout out for the day. Either way, pretty good win for the Clippers. The Grizzlies, it looked like the Clippers just are blowing them out. But then the Grizzlies, they never stopped fighting. Like they always try to make a comeback. So the Clippers was never completely safe. That's why the Clippers chose to play hard in the whole entire game. Um, and they just played their main players. They played their starters. Anyways, glad that the Clippers took the dub. Overall, since it's both of the teams I kind of like felt like it was a more relaxing type game. But anyways, that should end this video. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And I'll just say have a good night and Happy New Year's. Peace.